So welcome everybody to our weekly series called Witches in the World, where we interview, highlight, and honor amazing women doing amazing things in this world. And this week, I get the great honor of speaking with Katie Kozlowski of ShaktiBOMB. She is amazing. We connected over Instagram, and I just could not wait for her to come onto this program and to tell you guys all about all of the amazing things she's doing. So she is a master energy healer, a spiritual trainer, which is interesting. We'll get into that, and has created this ShaktiBOMB program that helps women get past their challenges to embody their inner strength and wisdom and success. So I'm so excited to talk to you today, Katie. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi. Hello. I'm so excited. I am like, yay.
I am too. I've been wanting to like pick your brain because you have the craziest, most interesting story. It's nuts. So you used to be an actress and a singer.
Yep. I mean, I still am.
Okay.
Sort of. I'm like always like, oh, I feel so bad being like used to be like not totally dead, but yeah, I what was my career, and also don't mind I have this renegade hair here. Pardon me while I do that. I'm not really vain. It's more I don't want it in my eyes because then I can't see you and you can't see me. So okay, all better.
Absolutely. So you still are, but your big transformation happened when you were living in New York City and you got hit by a taxi.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I got hit by a taxi. It's so funny because that's like it was like the culminating moment for me when I was like, what the WTF? I'm tired of this stuff happening to me. And I have this I like, it's kind of funny because I do this seriously deep, powerful transformational work. Like I work with serious trauma and serious illness, and like nobody knows the deep, dark inner work better than me. I am fully equipped to do that. And yet I'm also sort of, I kind of laugh about it, I'm sort of like a living, breathing Amy Schumer movie. Like I'm like a real life, like I'm a real life Amy Schumer character, or like Kimmy Schmidt. Like I just sometimes I'm like, my story is like, it's like Kimmy Schmidt, right? Like I was like, got hit by a car. And when I got hit by the taxi, it was a full on absolute divine message, like no ifs, ands, or buts, like no, like you just can't put it any other way, because I was really sad. And when I stepped off the curb, like right before I stepped off the curb, I literally thought to myself, like, would anybody even care if I wasn't here? Like, would anybody care if I died? And I legitimately meant it. I was not like, that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And my honest feeling was like, no, nobody would care. Nobody would notice. Nobody would cry. Like it really wouldn't matter. The world would go on. And so I had that thought, and then I stepped off the curb, and then literally this taxi just schmack. Bam.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's a crazy story. Like that's just, it's unbelievable. So was it something where it just was like a wake up call, or did you get hurt? Like what happened in those few days, months afterwards?
So cuckoo, but it literally, it happened really quickly. And I was crossing the street. I got hit by the car, and I got hit hard. Like this guy was not going slow. The guy was going like 25 to 35 miles an hour. Like in New York City, they drive really fast, and he was just plowing through the intersection. I rolled on the hood of the car. I rolled in the street. Like I hit my left side. I hit the hood of the car, like full on the hood of the car, hit the street on my right side, did a barrel roll, and popped up. It was just really weird. Like I literally was like,
kind of like just
hit my car, like on the hood of the car in the street standing. And
Oh my gosh.
it happened so quickly that it was like literally in a fraction of a second, all of a sudden I was standing again. And I was like, what just happened? And I remember like there I was, and the taxi kept going. Like if I hadn't kept moving, I would have been run over because he hit me and I fell straight forward and he kept going. But because I was like in motion, I rolled out of the way and then I stood up. So bizarre. But I remember, like, I'll never forget, like, I got up and was like, no, okay. Like,
I'm
I
okay.
have a
I'm still
face.
here.
I'm okay. Check my elbows. I'm like, look down at my legs. Fine. And I just literally went,
Wow.
and I just started walking away. And all these people came running and screaming, like, oh my God, that woman got hit by a car. Like, why are you standing? What happened? You have to lay down. Like, oh my God. And so it was this really strange thing where I just remember, like, all the people were there. All these people were asking me questions, and everybody was like, you got hit by a car. Like, you have to be hurt. And it was so weird because I didn't even know at the time what I was saying, but people were saying these things to me, and I just kept saying to them, no, you don't understand. I'm not like everyone else. No, you don't understand. I'm not like everyone else. And I knew that it was like, I'm not like everyone else. And in the fact that I actually, there's something within me that gives me the ability to be hit and not get hurt because of the consciousness that I have, but I like hadn't really like put it together. And so I walked home. I walked home that night, right? I walked from being hit 20 blocks back to my apartment, and I was crying, and I just remember going, you know, I don't understand this because I'm a really nice person. Like I'm pretty and I'm nice, and I'm really nice to everybody. Like nobody's nicer than me. And I'm talented, I'm smart. Like, why do these bad things keep happening to me? I don't understand it. Like, why? And so I got the message and I said, okay, I get it. I'm not treating myself as if I matter. Like,
Wow,
I'm not
that
treating
just gave
myself
me
as if I
chills.
matter. And if you think about it, right, it's like matter as in like I'm important, but also matter as in like I'm physically here. Like I'm not treating myself as if I'm here, as if I'm present, as if I deserve to be. So that was the beginning. I was 29, almost, well, now I'm 39. So like 10 years later. And it just, it started me on the path, because then basically what happened was then I started to think about all of the ways I'd been treating myself. And then I had to take a really honest look at all of the things that had happened to me and see that this is something that's really hard for people to hear and understand sometimes, but it was me. I wasn't a victim, right? I wasn't like, woe is me. Any of that. It was coming from me because I had no self-worth. I had no self-esteem. I had no confidence. Even though on the outside I was like shiny and bright and happy and everybody loved me, on the inside I had nothing. I felt so worthless. And so I had to take responsibility for that and say, like, how did I get here? And why would I let people treat me like this? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this?
Why would I manifest getting hit by a car? Like,
And it
as a
wasn't just
wake
getting
up,
hit by a car.
right?
Yeah, it was like, why would I manifest like all of these abusive relationships? Why would I manifest getting attacked on the street? I got robbed 3 times. Like I had all, like, it was like drama, drama, drama. But I had to really take an honest look at myself and go, there's something wrong here, and I don't think it's the world. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy to be like, the world is so bad.
I think it's a really important message for women because, you know, when you are a victim, right, of bad things happening, it's easy to get into that kind of that loop of being victimized all the time. And so like what I'm hearing you saying is you just kind of had this wake up call of like, I'm manifesting all this victim energy in my life all the time because I'm treating myself like a victim. And the first way to break out of that is to really take responsibility for where's my part in this, right?
Right.
Like that's so powerful. That's mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, it gets sort of tricky because when you get people that have had really serious trauma in their lives and they go like, well, I don't see how I created this by
Mm,
the way I treated myself. It gets sort of to be a really delicate subject because um that you know what I mean, like
yeah.
it's really hard, and there's such a deep level of the complexity of it, and that's why I love the work and the way I think. And I legitimately, authentically, and honestly love the way I think and the work that I'm creating because I've come to like go, okay, so why do we have trauma? Like, what is the purpose? And why does it keep coming back? And if
Hmm.
I can find any sort of shred of positivity in the message of the suffering, then I can give people a way out. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? I
Yeah.
can give you some sort of lifeline to grab onto and say, okay, I have to at least open my mind enough to understand that maybe on some super duper duper subconscious level,
Hmm.
I feel this way. And then it makes it a little bit easier to like accept it because we have to understand the nature of the subconscious.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do a lot of that work. So is a lot of your background in that kind of understanding that mind, brain, chemistry, spiritual connection of all of it together? Because I know I saw that you do like is that like neuroplasty?
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the neuroplasticity, that's a new tool. Um, I recently got trained in a new form of neuroplasticity, which is phenomenal, which works with light technology to change the neural pathways in the
Oh,
brain.
cool. Yeah.
Huge, right? Huge. But beyond that, it's like um, we can work with fibromyalgia this way. We can work with dementia this way because the brain is fat. So it's manipulating the actual tissue of the brain and the way the brain works. But beyond that, um, I was trained I had a teacher, I had a mentor. He was a psychotherapist. He was also a martial artist. So he had multiple black belts, which I think is a really cool combination because that's where I got the energy, like the
Mhm.
masterful energy side of it, and a lot of the psychological side of it because I was in that environment. And one of the first things that I did, first I started with the energy work, right? Like the healing work, and was so happy to see that you can heal things and you can work with energy. But what I didn't like was that side of it does nothing for the brain
Mm,
in terms of understanding why it works. And I found that for the body to fully process the transformation, it has to participate. Like you can
absolutely.
clear it from the body, you can clear from the aura, from the energy field, but the brain is still like, but why is this happening? How is this happening? What's my part? So the subconscious piece of it, the psychological piece of it, is something that one I learned over the years training in NLP and training in all these different modalities, and also it's just something that comes incredibly natural to me,
Hmm.
because of the fact that it just the way I'm built, the way that I'm constructed, and I mean that in terms of like the way my birth chart is, the way I think, the way I feel, because my processor, the way I process things is like the full gamut. Like I go all the way down to the bottom, to like the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, but I also go all the way to the tippy top. And so I've taken that and really explored that psychologically and found kind of like, where do the two come together? Where does the brain and emotions, like how do those work and why? Why do
Yeah.
we have them? Like why do we have a subconscious?
I love that because it's such a huge part of the healing journey that just as humans, like we're always looking for the why, and
Right.
we can get kind of caught up in not releasing from the body or like recreating things if we don't have our reason, right?
Right.
And so if we don't have that, I mean, it seems silly, but it's almost like we get kind of like 3-year-olds where we're like, well, I'm not going to grow and I'm not going to move forward until I really can understand it. And it's like, as soon as the understanding comes in, it's like the healing flower just opens and everything
Yeah.
just kind of falls into place really nicely. So I really love that you use like psychology as a big part of your work. Is that one of the reasons why you call yourself like a trainer, a spiritual trainer?
Yeah, I mean, it's also because of the fact that I was trained via this martial artist, right? This genius, brilliant martial artist. And for me, I feel like I'm not just a healer. I'm a brilliant healer in the sense that I can teach you how to heal and miraculous healings, right? But I am a trainer as well because I'm training my clients how to do this.
For
I'm
themselves.
training you how to hold consciousness in your body, how to hold light, how to hold love, how to think a certain way, how to process information, how to work with the subconscious. And that's training. So I'm a trainer. And if you think about it in terms of, I just liked that too, because the coaching world started to get very watery, right? Like
Mm.
there's so many different kinds of coaching. And like, I'm not a life coach. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I do. And I am a coach in terms of like, I'll give you information, I'll give you feedback, I'll help you. But beyond that, I'm training you how to ex- expand your consciousness, how
Mm.
to think in a new way, how to see in a new way. And that's kind of, I think, what makes me different, because I'm not just giving you a healing. I'm saying, look, I'm going to show you how I'm doing this. I'm going to peel back a layer that a lot of people won't tell you. And I'm going to show you how Shakti works so that
Yeah.
when I'm done, you will be able to do this for yourself and you will feel
I love
empowered.
that. I love that because I think we're like moving out of this old paradigm of like the guru,
Yeah,
teacher, student teacher sort of relationship where we hand over our sovereignty to somebody else to tell
right,
us how to fix ourselves, right?
right,
And I think this new wave of like, especially like female empowerment is about remembering things that we already know and putting the pieces together of things that we're blocked on, right? Like
yeah,
this psychological piece or whatever might be happening in the subconscious, and lifting that so that we can start to do that for ourselves
yeah,
for the rest of our lives and for the next generation that comes from us as women. So I
right,
really love your work. I think it's really beautiful and powerful. I'm
yeah.
excited. So you created ShaktiBOMB.
ShaktiBOMB.
How is that? So what is that? Give us like an idea of what is this experience about,
Right.
because I've seen it on Instagram. You've been kind of giving us little tastes here and there of it. Give us like the whole picture of what
Yeah, I mean,
ShaktiBOMB.
so here's the deal, right? ShaktiBOMB is um ShaktiBOMB has a mind of its own in terms of what ShaktiBOMB represents, right? ShaktiBOMB is a verb. ShaktiBOMB is what you do to clear a block. So it's a process, right?
Mm.
It's a system for transformation and transmutation, first and foremost. And it's become its own modality. I'm actually starting to see that my students are going on and they're using what they learned in my program, and they're Shakti bombing the shit out of their own lives and their children's lives and other people. And they're using the energy of ShaktiBOMB, the consciousness that they learned, and they're healing themselves and they're healing their friends, and things are happening. So ShaktiBOMB in itself is that, right? So it's something that you learn that assists you in taking energy from the subconscious, things that you are unaware of that are creating you pain, that are causing trouble for you, right? That you are not aware of, bringing it to the surface so that you can see it, recognize it, understand it, identify it, and then clear it. So remove it,
Mm-hmm.
delete it, whatever you want to call it, and then replace it with what you want. So that's the way the energy works, right? It's basically a 4-step process. The program that I run is an 8-week immersion program, and it's a fully comprehensive program, meaning that we start where you are. For 4 weeks, we break apart everything. So I help you go exactly through this process, right? Like week by week, get down to the subconscious, identify all of the thought processes, all of the beliefs, all of the learned information that's keeping you stuck. So we spend 4 weeks get down to the nitty gritty, right? Clear it all out. And then the last 4 weeks is actually the replacement, the recreation, the restoration. So to me, ShaktiBOMB is, one, it's educational because I'm teaching you everything you need to know to do this for yourself. And also it's transformational from the standpoint that it's like, basically, if you think of yourself as like an old rickety house, if you watch like those shows on HGTV and they take the house and they go like, this house is a piece of garbage, or this house, that's sometimes how we feel about ourselves, right? I'm a piece of garbage, but this house needs to be rehabbed, right? This house is broken down. So you come to me in the state of the house that needs to be refurbished, right? I'm the divine contractor. I say, okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to teach you how to rehab your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to restore you so that by the time you're done with that 8 weeks, you are completely renovated inside and out. And you end up in a whole new vibration. You are free from whatever that pain is. You've identified it. You've let it go. You've replaced it with something better. Things like self-esteem, your confidence, your ability to manifest, all of that's amplified by virtue of the fact that we're eliminating whatever it is. And for each person, it's different, what's in your subconscious. And so we do that for 8 weeks. And we do that through group classes. There are 8 group classes, plus one final graduation celebration that I call the Big Burn, which is basically the last burning any remnants away. That's sort of like a tribute to like an ancient rebirthing ceremony.
Ooh.
There are one-on-one sessions. The one-on-one sessions are when we do the neuroplasticity. So that's when I'm really able to help you get into your own brain and give you custom designed assignments, custom designed homework, and give you all of the tools that you need to actually do this for yourself. So that's basically what it looks like in a nutshell. And it's, to me, it's, most of my students have said, like, this should be like mandatory. Everybody should have to do this program because you learn so much that you were never taught. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
You learn so many things that you weren't taught. And it's mind-blowing when you're taught the things that you didn't know, because it's empowering, because it transforms your life and you start to go, oh, now I understand why I always felt this way. Or now I understand why my relationships always felt this way.
Especially when it's like things you didn't know you didn't know. You know, that's where it's like very interesting. It's like, I didn't know that I needed to know this, but now it's changed my life so much.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things, there's so many elements of that in terms of like the kinds of things that people are learning, and they go, I didn't know that I had to, that there was a difference between a boundary and a barrier, right? I didn't know that I could say no. I didn't know how to say no in an empowered way. I didn't know that I have to learn how to love myself. I didn't know that there's a difference between love and lust, right? Or that there's such a thing as true love and then fantastical love that's not really real. All of these things that they start to uncover, and also just things that they didn't know about themselves. Like, I didn't know that I was doing that all of these years, and that it was actually my mother.
Mm.
You
Oh,
know what I
I
mean?
love
I
those
didn't
kind of
know.
epiphanies. I love those.
Yeah, like I didn't know that that I was talking to myself that way, and that's because of something my father said to me when I was 5.
Wow. So, okay, what kind of women come to your space? Like, what are like their, I mean, we touched a little bit on some of it, but what do they look like? What are their age groups? I mean, is it the gamut of women? Is it a specific kind of energy? What
I
do you work
find, so first of all, like the women that do ShaktiBOMB, and I mean this in the most loving way, these women are, anyone that wants to do my program is curious,
with?
right?
Hmm.
Is hungry to learn, and everyone has done some form of transformational work in the past and gone, okay, I've been doing this for like 6 years. It doesn't cut it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
satisfied. Something's missing. Like, I know there has to be more. Um, I see that a lot. Always going through some sort of transformational shift, some sort of change, uh, whether it be getting out of a job or getting into a job. Um, all kinds of relationships, abusive relationships, or I find a lot of people I work with have had narcissistic parents or alcoholic parents, just because of the fact that when you don't get that as a child, when you're not getting the nurturing as a child, you grow up and you're confused.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that, um, lack of self-esteem. Autoimmune disease is really big. I get a lot of women that have some sort of physical illness that's especially autoimmune, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hypothyroidism, a lot of things like that going on. So it's in that realm of, and the age range is, it varies. I'd say the youngest person has been 27. Actually, she was
Mm-hmm.
27, but she was like like an old soul 27, and then all the way up to like 65.
Oh,
It
that's
doesn't
amazing.
it doesn't really matter so much as that you are ready to see the things that you need to see. I think that I learn more from my clients and my students than I do from all the marketing courses that that you do that are supposed to give you all the answers. And one woman said, she said, "Oh, I get it. You have to see the things you don't want in order to create the things you do want." And I was like, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's it. In a nutshell, you have to want to see. You have to want to see, right? Because if you don't want to
Absolutely.
see it, then it's not going to change for you, and you're wasting your time trying to get these kinds of results, because you only get everlasting freedom and liberation from suffering if you have the courage to face what you've been creating.
Well,
You
that's
know,
what I was just going to say too, is because it seems like because this work is so deep and supported, it does require a certain amount of courage to look at the stuff that maybe you've been hiding from or ignoring or avoiding or
yeah,
whatnot. So I notice like there's certain energy when people are hungry for that, where they're like, you know what, I'm done with my own shit. Like I
right,
need to move past this, versus people who are still a little bit kind of playing in that game, where they're not quite committed, but they will be soon. They'll
right.
come over the edge soon. They just need to get hit by that taxi.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I'm like, please, like, friends, don't wait till you get hit by a taxi, because the fact is, I had a little extra dose of some magical juju on my side. Not everybody gets to walk away like I did. A lot of
Right.
people lose their limbs. They get paralyzed. They end up in wheelchairs. And I don't want to see that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to see people empowered to get the help that they need and to change their lives at a much quicker pace.
So
No
I
more abusive boyfriends. You know what
I
I
just
mean?
have a quick question. Okay, so you got hit by this car and you started going on this awakening path. How did you know that you wanted to help other people doing this rather than just sort of taking it for yourself and then, working on your life, and especially as an actress, and, continuing to move in that space? Like, why did that sort of shift you out into now like a healer, supporting other women, empowering other women in that vein?
Right. I can't remember if I was writing it first. I think I started writing it after, but so as an actress, right? It was funny because I was having a hard time getting jobs. And what my agent kept saying, you have to write your own show. You just have to write your own show. I don't know why you don't write your own show. And I was like, well, I don't want to write my own show. Like, I want you to cast me in something. And so I don't remember how old I was. I was maybe like 27 around that time. And at that time I had this boyfriend, right? So from the time I was 24 to 27, I had a boyfriend. His name was Tom. I loved him very much. He was much older than me. He was like a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But also I loved him a lot. And when he and I broke up, I thought I was going to marry him. I was certain I was going to marry him. And I was so heartbroken by the fact that he didn't love me. Like, he wasn't prepared to make any sacrifices to keep me around. Like, he just chose himself and was like, well, sorry, I just choose myself, and like, bye, like, nice knowing you, like, but I'm not going to change, and like, you're really great and I love you and everything, but peace. And I remember just being like, I don't understand. I just devoted my whole life to you, 3 years, which when you're 27 and you've given up your 20s to a man. And so I started with Reiki. And so I was doing Reiki like from 27 to 30. And so I was already like, my toes were wet in the healing world. And I was already like somewhat aspirational. And I may have already been thinking, I can't remember when I got the idea, but at one point I decided that I was going to write, I think it was before I got hit by the car. I was going to write, or maybe not, don't remember the timing exactly, but I was going to write my own show about my life, because everyone kept saying, oh my God, your life is so funny. It's so funny. And it was funny. Like, I would go out and I'd be like, oh my God, I went out and like, this Hollywood actor, like, invited me home, and then he like ripped my dress open on the street, and like, and then he like followed me to my apartment, and then he turned around and his wiener was out, and like, I just like, I would have all these stories and people would say they were funny. So I was going to write this comedy. It was going to be a comedy, like an a la Amy Schumer movie. And it was called Sick Bitch. But it was Sick Bitch. It was a joke. Oh, it existed. Actually, no, it existed long before I got hit by the taxi. And I was Sick Bitch. And it was like, and it was a joke. And it was like, oh my God, you're such a sick bitch. Like, what is that? And so I was working on it. And then when I got hit by the car, I was doing all this healing work, and then all these messages started coming in. And so it went from being called Sick Bitch to Miracles for a Sick Bitch.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was going to write that. And I started writing the book, and I was like doing all these things, and then I didn't finish it. But so that was sort of like the synthesis of it. And it was going to be funny, but I always wanted to write a self-help book that reads like bossy pants. Like, I always thought I was going to write this book and it was going to be a New York Times bestseller. So I was already like thinking along those lines. But then when I started doing the healing work on a more serious level, and actually when I started seeing like, you know what, this is actually not really funny. Like, it is funny. Like, it's kind of funny, but it's also like not funny. Like, this is not funny. This is not a joke. I went and I saw the man who ended up being my mentor. And I remember watching him work. And it was like, it was one of those things where I still think of it, because he's extraordinary man. His name's Derek O'Neill. And I went to watch him at a workshop, and I was very skeptical And I was like, I'm going to watch this guy. Cause like, I'm not into gurus and like, I don't need that. But he came out and he did his thing. And I was like, I was in love. I was in love. I mean, I was in love with him. I was in love with how kind he was and how compassionate he was. And the way he worked was like mind blowing. It was so cool. And I just remember thinking like, holy mother of God, I don't know how this guy's doing this because you cannot explain it, but that, I want to do that. Like that exact thing, that thing he's doing, I want to do that. I did.
Wow.
Like I
So
figured out
you
how to
just
do it.
resonated with it so much. So did you like kind of put the acting career on halt and then like move dramatically in that, or have you always been sort of doing both at the same time?
I mean, here's the thing, like the acting thing is it's such a challenging career. And my issue, I had beef with my particular path and also like perfect, right? Perfect for what I do and who I am is I was really pissed off because I was typecast, right? Because
Mm.
they typecast you. They pick a type for you and then you have to play that type. You have to play that role. And because I was blonde and because I was curvaceous and voluptuous, I was always playing the dumb blonde, the hooker,
Oh gosh.
and the prostitute. And I'm like, I shit you not. Like my agents would be like, we got you an audition for Law and Order. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And then I'd be like, oh, it's for the fat prostitute. Like it would say specs like fat prostitute.
Oh
And
my
I'd be like,
gosh.
hooray, I don't want to be a fat prostitute or like naked prostitute. And I was
Wow.
so tired of having them say to me like, look, you're very sweet, you're very wise, you're very smart, you're all of these things, but because of the way you look physically, like this is who you are. And you suck it up because that's who you are. And I mean, and that's part of everything that I represent is I have never been willing to accept that. And I've basically like thrown my middle fingers up in the air and said, you know what, world, society, ancient Greek history, like everything, because it's like the prostitute has been an archetype forever. The
Mm-hmm.
goddess has been labeled as a prostitute. I mean, you look at,
Yeah.
do you think that Venus and Aphrodite were like, hooray, I'm so excited to be a sex object for the rest of my life and forever here on out? No, no, it
And
sucked.
even just the Mary Magdalene and being labeled as a prostitute, and yeah, it's a story of
Oh
all
yeah.
time.
And the thing is, you know what? Like, and I have done a lot of work in terms of really like hanging out with Mary. I feel like Mary, like my best friends are Mary Magdalene and Marilyn Monroe. I know them super well. And they were both so smart. And ironically or not, MM were their initials. And it's the same energy, the same consciousness of this empowered woman being trapped in some sort of limitations. And so I think part of my beef with my path as an actress was I didn't want to be typecast in that role and I refused to do it. And that's why my agent said, just write your own show, because we know you're not really a prostitute and we know you're not a dumb blonde. You're very smart, but because of the way you look, like that's just what people want you to be. So either be that and be successful or go create a new career, or start, like I tried to starve myself and be an ingenue, like didn't work because I was still really curvy. And so I kind of like, I stepped away from it, mostly because it, like I had beef with that archetype, and I just was like, I know that I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do if I do it via that route, because it's not, I have too much to say.
Yeah.
And I also don't belong. I don't need to be. I have pictures of when I was first doing when I was branding Sick Bitch, all in my underwear, all in bustiers. I'm sending a newsletter out tomorrow. Anybody, actually, I'm going to do an Instagram post tomorrow too. So if anyone goes back, go check out my feed. You'll see bustiers, chocolate cherries, bubble gum, cake smashed all over my boobies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was what I thought I was.
Yeah. Kind of playing into the stereotype of being a
Because I was
sexual
like, well,
object.
that's what the world wants me to be. And I want to be successful. So I'm going to I'm going to play along. But then the more I learned, I was like, that's just not me. Like,
Yeah.
that's really not the type of person I am. And I'm, I'm not a dumb blonde.
I love it. Breaking the mold of what the world wants to typecast us as women in. I think that's been just such the story of the female path, even just like the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's so great. So with ShaktiBOMB, do you address a lot of like the archetypes and those kind of labels and that kind of stuff in the program, or is it kind of only if it comes up?
I do and I don't. One of the things that I do address is, first of all, every single goddess, any feminine energy, um, they all ended by either like being buried alive or burned at the stake, or drowned in the ocean. Like, you look at all the goddesses, like, they didn't have happy stories. Persephone went down to hell and like never came back. So I do address the fact that the goddess path, whether we like it or not, the heroine's journey requires you to go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Requires you to go to hell. So I do address it from that standpoint, because the way the program's designed is it's literally like in a circle, and it's like you start at the top above ground, and then you're like week 2, like, right, you're getting closer. Week 3, sorry, you're already beneath the surface. Week 4, you're down at the bottom. Week 5, like, you're in hell, baby. And then I bring you back just like the goddess.
Yeah.
So I do speak about it from that standpoint, just because the goddess path exists for a reason. She goes to hell because there's value down there. And that's part of what I teach is once you've lost everything, right? Like, once you've let everything go, once you've hit your rock bottom, whatever you want to say, right? You're in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also in this incredible space where you have access to everything. And that's what a lot of people don't know, is that if you want access to everything, you're not going to get it by climbing the top of a ladder, because you're not going to be able to hold it. You have to go down to create the space so that you can embody the light and the consciousness, so that you can make it to the top. Otherwise, you're not going to have the depth to carry it.
So perfect too, because today we move into Pisces, which is all about diving into the deep waters of our souls, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
and I love that. I'm like, hey, let's go. Like, I got to snorkel. And it's so joyful when you go down there. So I do speak about it from that standpoint.
Awesome.
Because
I
I
love
want you
it.
to understand why it's good to go there. It's not bad. It's not punishment. It's bad.
Yeah. And I think that's part of that victim mentality that we can get caught up in as
Right.
women is we're being punished for something, or why is this happening to me kind of
Right.
energy. When you realize, especially when you do start looking at the stories of the goddess, it's so purposeful. It's like the whole journey into the underworld is so purposeful because something is happening to be sacrificed in order to gain something. And when we start to look at our own struggles and our own challenges and our own like dramas as purposeful,
Right.
it makes it like, oh, okay, I can move through this. Like, I'm not being victimized by life, like
Right.
that took me a really long time
Yeah.
to learn. Like, I had a very traumatic upbringing, and so much of my mental talk was all about, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this, very much what you were talking about before you
Right.
got hit by the taxi. And it is a big wake up call when you actually have to sort of take responsibility, on
Yeah.
a deep level of what's happening in your space, and then be willing to dive there. So it's so beautiful that you get to do that with somebody like you who can hold and guide and help you process that whole experience, because that feels so much more supportive than when we're just thrown into a drama like getting hit by a car
Right.
or an abusive relationship
Right.
or any of the other fill in the blanks that we experience as women. So that's so exciting. And so when does this start?
So the next cycle is starting in 2 weeks. So the first week of March
Okay.
is the official start date. So for the next 2 weeks, what I'm doing is I offer free subconscious energy scans, which is basically helping you get into your subconscious, identify what's going on, what's creating your pain, very diagnostic
Ooh, I
in
love
terms
that.
of like, it's like running ScanDisk. If your computer was running slow, it's like, let's look for the viruses, right? Let's figure out what's creating this for you. And so that's my introduction to the ShaktiBOMB method. And from there, you get a taste of how I work. You get a chance to see, like, if you feel like this is going to help you. And also what that conversation does is it gives me an opportunity to say to you, okay, this is what you have going on. This is how we would use the ShaktiBOMB program and system to rehab your life, because everybody's got something different going on.
Right.
And I'm fully aware of that. And I've designed this program so that it can assist and correct a multitude of issues, right? Pain points. It's not about one specific thing. It's about the process of breaking apart what's creating your pain and giving you the tools to move forward as a result of the education, and then having the knowledge so it never has to come back again. And that's my biggest thing, is it never has to come back again. And if
That's
you look at that
huge.
karmically, right, you don't have to suffer the same things that you were suffering. You are free. I'm giving you a ticket to liberation.
I love it. We don't need to suffer like this lifetime anymore. We've done that. We've done that for thousands of lifetimes. Like
Right.
it's time to release and really embody and enjoy and move forward,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. And I often see it like, for years I kept trying to like put into words and say, I can't even explain how this works or why this works. And now I understand, and on multiple levels. And that's the other thing, is I've got examples, and I've got information on every level you need. I've got a spiritual one, I've got a mental one, I've got a physical one, and I've got analogies up the yin yang. That's like, I'll make this, I'll make it so you can understand it. But it's like, it's everything. It's the brain, it's the karmic path, it's the breaking out of the bardo. You can put it you can say it any way you want. But what it is it's information. It's like, it's the kind of, it's basically the information that I got when I did my training with my teacher that changed my life in a very user-friendly
And,
package.
and condense so you don't have to do it over a 10-year period. You can do it in 8 weeks.
Yes.
Love
Yes. And honestly, you know what? Here's like the really funny thing, is the way that Derek works. Derek's fantastic, and he'll help you, right? But he doesn't tell you how to do it. You know what I mean? He just doesn't. You have to be really smart, and you have to really listen. And that's the kind of woman I am. So I was like, oh, I am going to like watch everything he does, and I'm going to get this down. So I'm a different kind of teacher. And I'm not going to make it hard. I'm spelling it out in human language. That's like, okay, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. And
And
it's energy, and it's healing, and it works. And I don't know why it's time for that, but I think, and there was a period when I was like, I can't tell people this, because like, you're not supposed to tell people this. And then I went, why?
yeah,
Why? Because Shakti doesn't belong to anyone.
yeah.
Shakti is life force energy. That's like saying like only certain people have access to chi or
Right.
breath. Like, I'm
Or
sorry,
air,
but you're not
right?
qualified. You're not qualified to breathe, Alex. Like, you're not actually, You're not allowed, but I can tell you when you are. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like,
It's so funny. I've been noticing that in the healing space so much, where there's this almost like competition energy or territorial energy around healing. And I'm coming from the same place as you are, Katie. I'm like energy is like air, like, you know, I don't get to control how much air you get to breathe in, you know, like so I love that. And I love the idea of teaching people how to move forward in their lives with those tools. So it's not a secret. You don't have to keep coming back to somebody over and over and over again, that you actually can heal yourself. It's beautiful. So the subconscious scan, is that a phone call, or how is that? How does that work?
Those are, you know, what's funny is, so the sun's going down and I didn't turn my lights on in here. So it's getting darker. I'm going to be in the dark by the time we're done.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
I know. It's funny. It's like we're going full circle. I get this little blue ray here coming through the thing. It's cool. Yeah. So the subconscious energy scans, I do them on Zoom, and which is, you know, really easy. We're using it right now. Very easy video conferencing platform. Great because you can be international and you can use it. There's no cost. You just use the Wi-Fi, or you can call in if you don't want to do that. But I like to be able to see people, because so much of what I do is not face-to-face. And it's nice to connect, and it's nice to actually have that opportunity to actually, you know, see someone and be in a more close proximity and a little bit more of that safe zone where you feel like you actually know me. And that's something that I really pride myself on, is I really care about the relationships of my students, and I really care about how you're doing. You know, a lot of people, they have really big programs and they're very expensive, and they don't give, I mean, they care, but they don't really care. Like, they could care less. If they enroll 2,500 people at $2,500, they don't care if you get it or not. That's, they sort of leave it up to you, but not me. Like, I care, maybe almost too much. But that's the type of woman I am. And I'm extremely responsible. And I have always said this, and I've always felt this way, that if you come into my world, and even if you're just a person on Instagram that follows me and I follow you back, or we have a conversation, or you do a scan and you don't do my program, like, I will have your back for the rest of your life and then some. That's the kind of person I am. You can send me a message and say, my daughter is sick. Can you send her positive energy? And I will do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a thought.
I'm the same way. I feel like we have to support each other and have authentic relationships, you know, and I feel like that's when I think one of the reasons why we connected so well, is because it just felt like real. And I sense that you do care, that it's not just trying to fill a class or trying to do this or trying to do that. Like, there is an authentic connection, and I resonate with that so deeply. So I love it. I love that we're on the same page. So if people do the subconscious energy scan, you're also offering anybody from Witch and Womb a discount on the ShaktiBOMB. Is that correct?
Yes. And I don't remember what I told.
I don't have it in front of me. I'll type it in.
You're going to have it there, right? There is a discount, and I want to say it's like $500.
I think that's what it was. But
well, you know what? It is now. $500. If anyone's watching this and you want to do it, you have to let me know. Well, when you set up the scan, I believe I have a space that says, you know, is there anything else you want to tell me? Be sure that you tell me you're from Witch and Womb, and I'll give you a code, a special access code, and for $500. I'm pretty sure it was $500, and it doesn't matter, because that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm feeling now. And so that's how that works. And it's pretty simple. And if you don't want to do a scan, if you listen to this and you're like, I don't even want to do that, this sounds amazing, I want in, same deal, just let me know and I'll give you the code. And then it's so simple. When you're checking out, you just put the code in there and it gives you the discount. And I will say also, it is a discount that you can apply it to upfront. If you do a one-time, like if you're doing a one-time payment, you can do it up front. If you're doing a payment plan, what ends up happening is that 500 gets split up either over the 3 months or the 6 months, so that you get the same amount off each month.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
some people find that really miraculously helpful, because it takes
and
the
very,
percentage off.
very generous. It makes it a lot easier too to say yes, you know, to this.
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, the more I teach it, the more excited I am. And even just 2 days ago, one of my students that went through the program used the system that she learned. She took everything she learned and she applied it, because she's smart, right? And she used it for her daughter who was having surgery. And you know, she said to me, "What, like, can you help?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll send energy, and I'll send what I can." But she came back and she said, "Oh my God, I used ShaktiBOMB and I did what you said, and her cyst, or her uterine tumor, went from 9 centimeters to 2
Wow.
in like 2 days." And she's like, "Oh my God, did you do that?" And I said, "No, I didn't do it. You did it." I
Miracle
mean,
energy.
I helped, but that was you applying what I taught you. So she's already using it as a result of the training. So it's something that if you, I think I'm saying this because this program is great for rehabbing your system, but it's also educational in terms of, if you're a healer, if you're a practitioner of any sort, if you're a light worker, if you want to be a light worker, it's groundbreaking in terms of the expansiveness, the way it expands your knowledge as a healer. Because I'm not just teaching you certain things, I'm giving you access to Shakti and transformational energy in mind-blowing ways. And you can, like I said, that Shakti doesn't belong to me. So listen.
Listen and integrate it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to use that energy to heal yourself and others, I will show you how. And that's all it is.
I love that.
So cool.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Is there, I know that you said that you had like a little story that you wanted to kind of leave us with. Was that part of it? I can't remember.
Oh, because you like to have like a button, right? And I was like, yeah, I'll tell you this story.
Yeah.
And now I don't remember what the story is, but what I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was just going to say anything just to sort of like leave everybody with a little piece of nugget
I am like exploding the story, so I can't remember what that story was. I'm sure it had something to do with ShaktiBOMB, but I'll say that. So I've been spending my entire life collecting pieces and collecting information, and this is something that I've been doing since I was a child, you know, like writing in my journal and taking note of things and writing things down and collecting objects. And I think it's really fun to know that we always are, in our core essence, who we are. And all of the things that happen that seem painful and seem like destructive or seem like punishment are always for our benefit. Because if I look at my life and I look at, you know, like I want to be an actress, right? And it didn't work out, or whatever it is. All of the experiences I had in college as a young adult, all the things I've done my whole life, it's all come to this modality. And it's given me so much teaching material. Like, it's given me ways to identify and associate with what people are going through. And you know, I just think that that's really, really wonderful, because that means that we have purpose. Like, there's purpose for our pain. And for me personally, I know that, I really, like, I don't know why, but I consciously was like, yes, I will sign up to go all the way to the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And, oh, this is what I'm going to tell you, is that it's come back to me that there is a trap door
Ooh,
at the bottom.
I
So when
like
you
it.
get there, if you know it's there and if you know what to do, it will take you to the top.
Ooh, like a
And I
little
will teach you.
wormhole or something.
And I will, yes, exactly. And I can back it up with exactly what happens when you fall through a black hole. And I can explain that to you. So, that is the last thing I'm going to say, is that there is a purpose for your pain and your suffering. And there is a trap door in the dark that only certain people know about. And if you hang out with me and you listen and you talk and you follow, I will tell you. And especially if you do ShaktiBOMB, I'll tell you. There is an escape hatch, and it takes you all the way to the top.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you so much, Katie. That's amazing. So
Look how dark it is.
I know, it's so dark. We're coming
Speaking
to
of
the
that,
end.
it's perfect, right? I'm in the
There you are. Blair Witch style.
Yes, pardon my darkness. And yet,
No, it's perfect. It was a perfect ending. And so I just want to say to everybody watching, if you want to find out that trapdoor, if you are ready to dive deep and to do it in a really supportive way that you can work through on so many different layers, all of the things that are blocking you from really stepping into like the fullness of who you are, sign up for the ShaktiBOMB course. I think it's going to be so amazing. And if you just want to do the free subconscious energy scan, like that's amazing as well. So I have links down below that I will be putting up, so you can link directly to Katie's website and to her Instagram as well, because you should definitely follow her on Instagram every day. She post something and I'm just like, whoa, this is so in alignment with what's happening in my space too. Like we're always on the same page, girl. I love it. Yeah, it's really amazing. So that's it, you guys. That's the end of our Witches in the World series today. And make sure you follow and subscribe at witchandwomb.com. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
bye, thanks.